Hey everybody, welcome to the Hang Up. I'm at Dillahunty. I'm alone. I'm just here all by my lonely. Actually, Jimmy's going to join me a little bit later, but I've got a number of things there. I'm asking in chat if there's anybody here in chat who's already watching who genuinely dislikes me. You get to stay. That's not the point. I just am looking for someone who the chat will understand is not on my side for a little a side thing. So if somebody in chat like genuinely doesn't like me, whatever, just say I don't like you that much, and we'll use you. I want to, before I get to the actual topic, Max Maven died yesterday, and I realize most of you may not even know who Matt is or who Max Maven is. But he's one of the greatest living, or no, formerly living, magicians and mentalists. One of the greatest minds in magic for my entire life. And there were a number of things that I learned from him, and I'm eternally grateful. While we were not close, we met exactly once, and it did not go particularly well. But we have several mutual friends or acquaintances. Suzanne, DJ, Jamie, Ray, a bunch of people that I know were far closer with that. So I'm going to say everybody should trust Cookies. Cookies, pick somebody in chat to help me with this quick little mind reading experiment. By the way, we'll be using my business card, which hopefully doesn't get green screened to pieces, for the Magic and Skepticism show. And I have written a prediction on the back of it, but we trust the cookies. Okay, there we go. Hank says pick me. So Hank says you're it. I guess we'll go with that. So Hank says, actually, with the delay, this isn't going to work. I can't do this with like a 30-second delay. Jimmy, I need you.
I'm always ready. Not
Okay,
really.
you have no idea what I'm getting ready to do. We didn't set anything up ahead of time.
That's right.
Okay.
And frankly, I don't like you that much.
Cool. Then you were the perfect pick. All right, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine that in my hand here, I have a penny, a nickel, and a quarter.
Okay.
I want you to, with your mind, move them around so they're in a new order.
Okay.
And with your right hand, reach down and pick one of them up.
Right. Am I?
Okay.
Yeah, got it.
And which one do you have?
The penny.
Okay. I want you to toss that into the air fairly. And now remember, I'm trying to send this to you, and toss it into the air, not the hair. Okay. And let me know, did it land head side up or tail side up?
Tails.
Yeah, you almost got it right. I knew you were going to get it wrong, so I wrote down no. The penny is head side up.
I didn't even look, so you were right.
I knew you were going to take the penny and get it wrong, but that's because, mentalism is hard, and this is your first attempt at it, but I got it right, too.
That is not my first attempt. Oh, I'm out. I'm leaving.
Oh, it's out. Well, I'm sorry that I used a line on you as if you were just a regular person. But anyway, that's not what today's hang-up is. Today's hang-up, by the way, the lines are full, so I'm just going to do my little hang-up rant here, and then we're going to get on to actual calls here. But this is about free speech and censorship, because it's been an interesting week for me. When Elon Musk took over Twitter, in addition to the stupid notion of making people pay for a blue check mark, I started seeing comments from some people who are otherwise secular and reasonable, and about saying, hey, I don't really like Elon that Musk, but if it reduces censorship, I'm in favor of the changes that he made. And on one particular post that said that, Andrew Torres, who is one of my friends who'll be back on the show at some point, he made a comment that was like, so what you're saying is you took a look at Twitter and you decided what Twitter really needs is more racism. And I replied, basically, yeah, I just don't get that. I do not, the original poster here who wants there to, wants Elon to take down censorship, um, wouldn't be welcome in my house. And somebody else objected to that, saying, how dare you say that? That original poster is a secular Jew, as if that was relevant. Well, it is relevant because he knows what it's like when we only allow certain kinds of speech. Well, no, first of all, the fact that he's Jewish or secular has nothing to do with this. It has nothing to do with censorship. Meanwhile, use of the N-word on Twitter increased by 500% in the first 12 hours after taking over. So, we already knew this was going to happen. It's not like Twitter was doing a great job of keeping things reasonable, but when you turned it into the wild, wild west, what you're going to get is an increase in racism, because free speech has nothing the fuck to do with Twitter. Censorship is what a government does when it prohibits certain speech without legal consequences. Censorship is not when Twitter says you can't say this word or you can say this word. Free speech is a right. It is either guaranteed and or protected by a government or it's not. You don't have some right to free speech in somebody else's space. Free speech doesn't exist in somebody else's space. If you're in my living room, you don't get to say whatever the fuck you want without consequences. I get to remove you. For every social media or internet forum or any of those things, you don't have some right to an account. You don't have some right to an audience. You don't have some right to say whatever you want. Twitter can have whatever rules the people running it want. They can make it, as open as they want, or they can make it as closed as they want. The same thing's true for any other forum. The same thing's true for the chat here. You don't have. I'm not violating your rights if I mute you or shut you down in the chat, and neither are any of the moderators. That's not what free speech is. That's not what government censorship is. And to suggest that somebody of Jewish descent would understand this better because they saw what the Nazis did and this is what happens when you don't allow the truth to shine. This has nothing to do with the truth. Twitter was already close to being a cesspool. You don't have some right to a Twitter account. You don't have a right to an audience. And when your social media platform allows racism and misinformation about vaccines, about diseases, about elections and other serious issues, that's a huge problem. Removing that stuff from Twitter doesn't mean people can't say it or can't post it. You can go say it where you want. You make your own forum. You can stand out on the street corner and, scream within reason as much as you want. Removing content like that doesn't mean you're denying them their free speech. You're denying them access to a specific audience. And those lies about things like vaccines and diseases and elections, et cetera, result in people voting based on misinformation and making decisions that in some cases lead directly to the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband. The individuals who think that Trump won and everything that says otherwise is a lie, who view Nancy Pelosi as this evil manipulator that helped to defraud the public of a fair and free election. That's what leads to them going into that person's home and attacking them. The other little thing before I get on to calls is I made a comment about the blue check mark, because Elon Musk said that if you wanted verification, power to the people, we're going to let everybody have verification, which I'm fine with letting everybody get verified, for $8. And so now I told them they can go ahead and take my blue check mark. Because if anyone can just buy one and pretend to be someone else, that ends it. That's not verification anymore. That's just hey, I paid $8. If someone can say they're me, pay money, and get a check mark next to their name, that undermines the purpose of having a check mark verification. By the way, you don't get a blue check mark on Twitter for being better than anyone. I'm not better than anybody. I'm not more special. I'm not more accurate. I have a blue check mark. I'm assuming somebody like Ben Shapiro has a blue check mark. All it shows is that someone with a large audience or popularity is in fact the person people think they are and not an imposter. Twitter has people as its product. What you do on Twitter is the product that Twitter is selling. your likes, your shares, all of those things are fuel to feed advertisers. That's it. You shouldn't need to pay for the privilege of having your preferences used to sell products. And people try to claim they're me daily. I got several emails this week because someone on Telegram decided to make the name Matt Dillahunty, but to replace the I with a lowercase j so that people who aren't paying attention would just look at it and see what they thought was Matt Dillahunty, and then reach out to them and try to scam them. Oh, I'm Matt and I need your help. This thing kind of happens all the time, which is why verification began at the beginning. It's not a class system. It doesn't mean that Stephen Fry is better than you or that I'm better than you. All it means is that when you see Matt Dillahunty with a blue check mark next to it, you're actually talking to me and not merely somebody pretending to be me. Now, I'd be fine if you take away the verification entirely. I think that muddies things up. But when you just say, oh, anybody can do it, well, I'm not going to pay for it, which means that somebody else can create an account that looks like me and pretends to be me, and then they can pay the $8 because they haven't announced how they're going to verify it. And if I'm not verified and I'm me, and somebody else is verified as me and they never went through verification, then this is just a money thing, and it's a silly money thing, because nobody should be paying for the privilege of having their preferences and likes used against them. I mean, we already do. But so if you see someone out there who claims to be me and is asking you for something, it's almost certainly not. I don't tend to message people on social media, and certainly not in DMs, without saying, hey, it's me. You can email me here. You can contact me here, that sort of thing, to verify it. And then you should verify it. The whole purpose of the verification checkmark was so that you don't get conned by someone pretending to be somebody else. And a bunch of people are just running around changing their name to Elon Musk and Donald Trump and all these other things, in the hopes that they'll be able to pay for a checkmark. Yeah, I saw Human to Swede says Stephen King don't want to pay for it. That was actually extra funny to me. I agree with Stephen King. They should be paying him, and not him paying them. But my favorite comment about that was, a billionaire is talking to a multimillionaire about whether or not they want to. It's worth paying $12 a month for something. I mean, it's ridiculous to see that kind of fighting or arguing going on. But that's my quick take. There's a lot of people who don't understand what free speech is, what its limitations are, and this thing about censorship. Yes, there's a colloquial version of censorship, which is, if I say you're not allowed to say anything transphobic in chat, am I censoring you? Yes, but that's in a completely different category from government censorship that denies your right to free speech, because you don't have a free speech right here. I'm sorry if you thought you did, but you don't. It's not your space, just like my living room is not your space, and Twitter is not your space. If they want to take away my whole account and say I can't post on Twitter, there's nothing I can do about that. If they want to say everybody who posts on Twitter must at least once a day post Elon Musk is my Lord and Savior, they can do that. They could make it so that the only post that's ever allowed to go up on Twitter is I love Elon Musk. That's literally all you could ever do. And that would be the way Twitter is, and that would be the way Twitter dies as well. But I got 4 callers already queued up and ready to go with lots of questions. Let's get in and have fun. As a reminder, I think tomorrow on this very network on the line, you're going to see Transatlantic Call-In Show, and Arden and student Dr. Ben will be doing the show tomorrow. I'll be on the Sunday show this Sunday from 3 to 4:30 Central. We're still in the midday gap. It seems to work out for everybody else. I'm not sure. I think Jimmy's on with me, but wait.
Yes,
Jimmy's on with me this Sunday again, and we'll start mixing it up soon. But while we're in this state of flux, we want to do that. We may have some other new announcements about potential changes and some extra live shows coming up in the next week or two while we try out some tech stuff. So let's get on with the calls. And if you do a super chat for $10 or more, we will read all of those $10 or more super chats at the end of the show. But I want to get talking to everybody. I haven't even read this and who it is, but Ron in Norway is a theist. How you doing, Ron? Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hello. Well, I heard you for a second.
Hello. Hi.
How you doing, Ron? I'm confused. I can't hear you. I hear you
Hi.
say
Hi.
hi.
Hi. Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hi. Well, hi. I'm doing fine.
How can I help? What'd you
And
call me?
I want to talk about. Hi. Hi.
You don't have
Hi,
to keep
Matt.
saying hi, Ron. Just tell me what you want to talk about.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Bible morality.
Okay.
So I believe that there are four pillars of our moral and progressive society. I believe that there are four pillars of our moral and progressive society.
Okay.
And these are freedom of speech, and freedom of speech, abolishing of slavery. Uh,
Ron, are you
so,
listening to the show so turn off YouTube and only listen to me
uh,
through the phone that you're calling in from, because this is going to take all night if you say half a sentence and pause for 10 seconds and then say another half of a sentence. So
okay,
you believe there are
I'm
four
turning off the
pillars of
YouTube.
morality. You believe there are four pillars of morality: freedom of speech, abolishing slavery. What are the other two?
Okay, there are four pillars of our moral and progressive society. Number one is freedom of speech. Number two, abolishing of slavery. Number three, gender equality. And number four, freedom of religion. And these are enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't know that those are the four, but yes, those sorts of things are in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You know where they're not? They're not in the Bible.
Yeah. Speaking of those four pillars, those are found in the Bible.
No, they're actually not. The Bible supports slavery. The Bible does not support gender equality. The Bible doesn't support freedom of speech. And the Bible doesn't support freedom of religion. The Bible specifically allows for only one religion and does not allow certain speech. And men and women are not equal. And it permits slavery. So the four things that you point to as part of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights are not supported by the Bible.
I can cite several verses in the Bible in which God explicitly abolished slavery once and for all.
Okay, give me the verse where God specifically abolished slavery once and for all. And let me tell you right now, I've got my Bible open. If in fact you do not cite a verse where God explicitly abolishes slavery, this call is over.
Okay. I can cite four verses. So
Start with one.
number one. Okay. Where should we start? Free speech, slavery, or gender equality, or freedom of religion?
You said you could cite a verse where God abolishes slavery. Cite that verse.
Okay. As early as Exodus 21, chapter 21, verse 20 to 21, God explicitly abolished slavery.
No, he doesn't. That's a lie. That is an absolute lie, Ron. Here's verse 20 and 21 in Exodus. It says, if a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall surely be punished. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. That verse specifically says you are allowed to beat your slaves as long as they don't die within a couple days. There is nothing in those verses that in any way abolishes slavery. Are you just a prank caller that is completely wasting my time?
No,
You literally,
I think we need.
went to the verses that expressly sanction slavery and specifically allow you to beat a slave. How could you possibly look at those verses and think that that was God abolishing slavery? I can't wait.
No, because we need to read the Bible metaphorically or allegorically. So
goodbye, Ron, you dishonest interlocutor. No, you don't need to read it metaphorically or allegorically. That verse says you can keep slaves and you can beat them. I do not believe you were sincere or serious. I think you were a prank caller. Please don't call me back with that crap. That was a complete waste of time. Metaphorically, allegorically, my ass. There's no way you can even spin those verses to be metaphorically opposed to slavery. Those verses, it's like somebody saying, yes, you can keep slaves, and you want me to interpret that as, no, you can't keep slaves. That's how boneheadedly stupid that was. What a waste of time.
I considered pretending to lose the call.
All right, let's try this again. Mackenzie in Ontario, is she, her? How are we doing, Mackenzie?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well, but you need to turn down the audio behind you.
Pretending to lose the call. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can't hear you. I'm muting you. So everybody listen up very carefully. When you call into this show, or pretty much any other show, I will help save some of the other shows, turn off your YouTube video, turn off whatever you're watching the show on, and just listen through your phone. Otherwise, we get an audio loop that destroys the show. So I'm going to take Mackenzie off. And by the way, if you're a call screener, please tell people to do that. Remind them. Turn off your thing. So, Mackenzie, I'm unmuting you. How are you?
Off your YouTube video.
Nope, you didn't listen. You haven't turned it off yet. All right, I'm going to return you to the queue, and we're going to go into another caller. If the call screener can explain what's going on so that Mackenzie can catch up, I'd love to get them on the show. We have Rennie in Florida. Pronouns are they, them. How are you, Rennie? Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Rennie. Hi. How are you?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello. Hi.
Cool. You're live on the air. What the hell is going on today?
Hi. Hi, Matt.
Hi.
So I was calling in because I just have like a quick thought on it I had for a couple years now. Why is it seen as bad to be, I guess, Christian phobic or Islamophobic? I'm assuming you probably think it's bad. I don't know, but like, I don't really like find a belief that like Christians and like Islam people hold to be like moral. And why is it bad for me to think that?
It's not bad for you to think they're not moral. That's not what we mean when we talk about like Islamophobia. Phobia isn't fear of, it is an aversion to, and it's kind of mislabeled. When somebody says, oh, you're being Islamophobic, what they really mean is that you are being bigoted against Muslim people instead of just, there's nothing wrong
I'm having trouble hearing you.
You're what?
I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you repeat that?
Okay, I'm just going to take your question and answer it offline. I don't know what's going on with the phone system. I hear beep as if I'm actually getting a call, which is weird. All right, so I've moved on. So here's the thing with Islamophobia or Christianophobia or whatever else. Generally, what people are saying is that you are engaged in bigotry against people instead of ideas. If in fact what you're doing is saying, I am opposed to Islam or I am opposed to Christianity, then congratulations, that's fine. That's not being Islamophobic. Being averse to a religion is not the same as being averse to the religious. That's the distinction. And so when people are talking about you being and it's the same for all those, transphobic doesn't mean that you're afraid of trans people. It means that you are in opposition to trans people and their rights. And if there was an ideology that you were opposed to, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're phobic. So when you're launching your objections to say, I don't find Christianity or Islam to be moral, congratulations, that is not transphobic or Christian phobic. That's not what they mean today. or when they say that. Let's try this again. We've now got a couple lines open. Hopefully we've got stuff fixed. Mackenzie in Ontario, welcome back. How are you, Mackenzie? Okay, Mackenzie, can you hear me? I guess not. I'm going to assume that Jimmy is hard at work behind the scenes, as is normally the case, to do what we can to fix all this. I'm going to try the only other caller that we've got right now, and if not, I'm just going to answer questions from chat. But Carl in North Carolina, can you hear me? Evidently, Carl can't, so I'm going to return to the queue. I think our phone line to our call-in solution may have gotten dropped. And that may be what the beeping was of trying to connect it. So
we haven't, but I'm going to try reconnecting it now. I'm going to manually drop it and see if that improves it, because everything else on our end actually looks fine.
This is so wild. So if you tag me in chat with a question, I will do my best to try and answer it while we're waiting to get this. We still have 4 calls, but we're not yet hearing anything. So I'm going to let Jimmy reset that one real quick. And now yes, I see it. No host connection. Please reconnect us. Do you have the stock technical difficulties music to play just for giggles? I don't have any music to play just for giggles. I don't have anything to do with that. People say you can't defend bodily autonomy. That's not a question. And are they, so Delaney, are they saying I can't defend bodily autonomy, or that nobody can? Is this a personal slight against me? Coming up here in mid-month, around the 19th or so, we'll be at, I guess, DebateCon with modern day debates people around the Dallas area. And I'm going to sit down with Destiny to discuss bodily autonomy very briefly. But I love the fact that people are trying to tag me and then misspelling my name or not putting it all there. What's the weirdest snake you know of? There are some really tiny snakes that look like earthworms, which to me are strange. But do I have any debates coming up? Yes. Could you think of a rational reason as to why Musk would charge for blue ticks? Because he's looking to shake things up and do something slightly different that might intrigue people and get some revenue, except that I don't think either of those work. What's the debate you just did recently? I heard you did one. I did 2, actually. One on someone wanted all gambling to be illegal, and another one on whether or not a perfect mind created the universe. B-House says, are there any major religions out there you think are more reasonable than the rest? I tend to not phrase it in terms of more reasonable than the rest, just less ridiculous. Like pretty much anything is less ridiculous than Scientology. Mormonism comes close. It's like Scientology ridiculous, and then Mormonism, and then standard Christianity, and then you get all the way down to other stuff.
You can give it another shot. I would put Jehovah's Witness above Mormonism, but below Scientology.
No, I would not put Jehovah's Witnesses. Mormonism is weirder than Jehovah's Witness. They just have, that's just Christianity with a couple weird things added on to it. Mormonism includes you get your own planet, and Jesus and Satan are brothers.
I was probably going with level of culty and how much devotion you need, but that was mine. Sure, if this doesn't work, it means the call-in system is down. If connecting now continues to not work, because everything else is now checked on our end.
Hello.
I'm going to try it again. Mackenzie in Ontario, you're live. How are you?
Hello. Thank you, Matt. I don't know what happened. I'm good, and you?
I'm fine, thanks. How can we help?
Okay. Well, I want to stay to today's debate. Today's topic. So basically, I just want your opinion, your point of view of how can we decide how can we know when we are damaging someone with our words or comments in Twitter. You gave us an introduction that Twitter is a private company and they have their own rules, so you need to abide to those rules. But I just want to go a little bit deeper. What makes when I make a comment on a platform like Twitter or Facebook or whatever, I mean, how can I moderate? And actually, the thing that I'm going to say or I'm going to share with everyone is actually hurting someone.
Well, what do you mean by hurting someone? Because I've absolutely said things that certainly hurt people's feelings, and I've even done it intentionally.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, probably you remember what happened with Jordan Peterson like earlier this year, right? When he was, if I remember correctly, he was naming someone, and he was saying something that wasn't completely true. So right. Because he was in, I mean, how can that insult or that like lack of respect can be a justification for banning someone?
How can it be a justification for banning someone? Well, the people running a site make the determination about what they are and aren't going to allow. And so, for example, nobody's going to be allowed in the comments here on this channel to be transphobic, to expressly be transphobic and target people. That's just not going to be allowed. And who decides when you've done that? I do. And the moderators do. And Jimmy does. How do you know when you've done it? Well, we're going to let you know that you've done it. And you can decide then, not just you, Mackenzie, I'm not coming after you, but you can decide, hey, I don't care if you think I hurt somebody's feelings, because there are occasions where maybe that's not a concern of yours or somebody else's. It's up to the people running the site to come up with their rules and to enforce them.
Yeah, and I mean that's fair. That sounds very similar to something that I think it's called rule utilitarianism. And the difference between rule utilitarianism and act utilitarianism is that the former, it really wants to use some types of rules to moderate the consequences, right? Because this particular type of philosophy is just about the consequences. So if you are actually damaging someone, and maybe that's your not intention, right? Maybe you are just having this type of comment. But if you actually, for some reason, you are like hurting someone, if someone is actually comes to, for example, to Twitter or to whatever and says, hey, this is not true. This person, I'm not this gender, or this is not my name anymore, etc., etc., etc. So the point I want to ask you, Matt, is like, what will be a little bit more important? So it will be the fact that we need to obey these rules, and these rules are there for a good reason, or if the consequences, the direct consequences of the action is actually what determines the original criteria of setting those rules in place.
Yeah, I don't know why on earth you're bringing up rule utilitarianism, because that's about a larger moral philosophy. It has nothing to do with what rules somebody sets in a specific place. The person or people who run that space set the rules, and you can either agree with them and work within the rules and post there, or you can piss off and go somewhere else. I'm not quite sure what it is you're looking for.
No, it's just the question of what will be the let me see if I can ask it in a clearer way. What will be the best criteria to follow? I mean, I know these people have their own rules, and because it's a private site, they have the right to moderate according to their ideas. But for example, let's you, Matt, if you like right now, I mean, what will be the criteria you will use to actually ban someone? I mean, it will be the consequence of actually hurting someone, or you are just going to put like a good amount of rules to actually moderate the behavior of someone?
I can't answer that question because I'm not setting up an entire set of rules for a platform to somebody to follow. But if somebody is over here posting bigotry, whether it's racism, transphobia, whatever, in chat that I'm in control of, I will ban them. There are some things where I won't know what I'll do until it actually happens. But we didn't sit down and create a serious list of rules or evaluate morality or anything else. We just said, look, in this chat, these are the types of things that Matt doesn't want during his shows. And because of that, you know, it's as totalitarian as it can be. I'm not going to allow certain things. I can't give you an answer for every space. There are, like, I won't get an account on Truth Social, and I won't spend any time on Truth Social, because I don't want to be in the cesspool that I think results from those rules. And I may, in fact, leave Twitter if it devolves into just a racism shit show. I don't, this, I'm not going to sit here and do the no, change your Twitter rules to suit what I want, because I don't have any right to do that. But also, I don't need to be on their platform if it's crap.
Yeah, no, exactly. And well, I mean, I would say the exercise I was trying to ask is I personally, for example, if you ask me what type of criteria I will use, I will, yes, very similar to what you told me. I will give some priority to the rules, not because the rules in themselves they have like a type of like a power, but it's a practical way to measure certain behaviors that they have the potential to damage someone. So I will subscribe to that idea that it's not really democratic in the sense that if there's like a racist or like a really bad opinion around there, I'm going to move my metric to satisfy that need. I think the best idea is to follow probably our original criteria that has the potential to damage someone. So when you brought at the beginning that what Twitter was doing before Elon Musk, it was a little bit better because there was a little bit more of moderation. I think, and this is just my belief, the moderation that was happening was something similar to that, right? Because there's a potential that certain types of things that people sometimes say, regardless of the number of people tweeting about it, right? Those set of rules, they didn't really move, right, to satisfy the majority. So as maybe I am wrong, but that will be the difference between the act and the rule utilitarianism, no?
I genuinely don't understand what you're saying. Rule utilitarianism has absolutely nothing to do with this. We're not talking about broad philosophical views on moral assessments. All we're saying is, what are Twitter's rules? Do we agree with those rules? Do we think they should be tighter, more restrictive, or do we think they should be more open? I don't think that Twitter's rules should be more open. I think that increasing the amount of racism on the platform results in that platform becoming less useful and it decreases the signal to noise ratio by increasing the noise.
No, yeah, no, I agree with that, and yeah, no, I was just trying to ask a little bit more about the reasoning behind that moral act, right? Of saying
I don't give it. No. The moral. Okay, I'm not. Okay, whatever. I don't know what Elon Musk's. I don't think that Elon Musk is sitting there saying, what's the most moral thing to do? I don't know that Elon Musk has any concept of morality or anything else. I think that he's a fucking spoiled little billionaire who bought this and is pissed off that his previous wife left him for a trans woman and is coming after trans people.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, at the end, yeah, I think I have a very similar opinion, and I have this anxiety that things they are going to get worse for everyone, especially because in the United States, it seems, I'm living in Canada, but it seems in the United States things is getting a little bit difficult for you guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything to add on this, though, Mackenzie. I got to move on. I appreciate the call.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Yep, thanks. Yeah, I don't know that Elon has any concept at all of or principle of morality. Given what he seems to be doing, I would say that he's almost anarchist. That it's just, like many of the I got mine, fuck you if you can't get yours libertarian mindset. It's like, the correct thing to do is to allow all speech, and then you counter bad speech with good speech. Well, yes, you can do that. But meanwhile, if your platform doesn't do anything to help make distinguish between truth and fiction. If your platform doesn't make any attempt to distinguish and eliminate bigotry, that's your prerogative. You can make a platform like that. I just don't have any interest in participating on it. But, all right. And along the same line, we have Carl calling from North Carolina. Pronouns are he, him. Hey, Carl, how are you?
Fine. How are you this evening? Well, I'm a dinosaur here, and I guess my thing is I just wonder why anybody is on social media because, I've read studies that social media is toxic. Why would anybody support that twerp like Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg? Elon Musk is, as an engineer, is just an idiot who, like Trump, who has failed upwards, and so I just don't understand. I don't even have a smartphone, because that's another thing. That's got to have that dopamine hit. Got to get that dopamine hit. I just feel that sometimes technology has gone a little too far, and it's actually harming us. It's given platforms to people who are on the lunatic fringe, who maybe 50 years ago we always had this lunatic fringe out there, but they never had a platform like Jordan Peterson. He's a nutcase who back probably 50 years ago would have been, in the lunatic fringe of the far right, Klan type of people who would have, had these obscure mail-in where you can go get their literature through mailing in and read their stuff, but most people didn't listen to that stuff.
I think
so.
I can perhaps understand bits and pieces of your frustration, Carl, but I'd recommend that you actually get maybe a smartphone and engage, because Jordan Peterson, while I've had dinner with the man, I've had a discussion with the man live on stage, he's still an actual psychologist who teaches at a university. And while some of his views certainly would be fringe, there's no scenario in which he would just be dismissed. What it would be is he wouldn't have as big of an audience for some of his fringe views or his distasteful views. But when you're saying, why would anybody be on social media? One, because it's fun. Two, because it connects you with people in a world where you may find yourself alone. I have friends who are bedridden, who can't interact with people, and social media is their interaction. It's like saying, why would anybody play a video game where you get together with 20 other people to work towards a goal? It's because we're social animals. You may be, one of the exceptions that doesn't seem to need or care about social interactions, but most of the rest of us do. And while there are certainly problems with toxic individuals and them being amplified, one of the consequences of allowing free speech and encouraging discourse between people is that you're going to have discourse that you disagree with, and there's going to be discourse that is harmful. But sticking your head in the sand and ignoring all of the conversations going on doesn't seem to me to be much of a solution either.
Well, you've got a point, but here the thing is, okay, I'm 65. Okay, I'm not socially isolated. I do triathlons at 65 years old.
That's not social interaction.
What's that?
That's not social interaction.
The group that I ride with, and the people that I train with, and go out on rides every week, in group rides and things like that. That's social interaction.
Okay, but the triathlon isn't social interaction. When you're out training with them, when you're out training with them, what do you talk about?
Oh, we talk about different stuff on the road. We talk about different stuff on the road. Maybe we're just out for a 50, 40, 30 or 50 mile ride on the road, and we're in a group. We're in like a Peloton group, and we discuss things in there and family of what we're doing, and because we're on the bike and we're not on our cell phones, because we're engaged, we're around each other and we're focusing on the road and everything like that, we talk to each other.
Yeah, but where are you getting your information that you're using to talk to each other? When one of the people on the bike next to you is a Trumper, how does that conversation go, and where do you get your facts?
You know, I do have a computer. I do have a tablet, and
Okay.
I get my facts from places like Common Dreams, is a website, Counterpunch. I listen to people like.
So it sounds like instead of engaging with people on Facebook, you're engaging with people while you're out on your bike. What's the difference?
Yes. Or
What's
in the
the difference?
gym when I.
Well, no. I'm asking what's the difference, because you seem to want to poo-poo the way other people interact, but elevate the way you interact. Why is the way you interact better than the way other people interact?
Okay, I'll give you an example of this. Incels. Okay, I'm not what you would call an attractive guy. I may be average at best. Okay, dating apps. For every 10 people on there, 8 of them are men, 2 of them are women. Okay, when I was a young man, and I was in something called the JCs, which was a community organization, I met women out there. You know, that's how I met women, by doing this, by being in the JCs. Because I think if I was on a dating app and you just saw my face or didn't know anything about me, I don't think you would swipe right on me. But by being out there, socially engaged in the community, I was meeting women, and maybe I wasn't the best-looking guy, but hey, here's Carl. He's engineer, got a good job. He's into, you know, that's attractive. I put myself out there.
I'm confused, Carl, because I asked you why you were poo-pooing the way other people interact socially, but elevating the way you do, and then you went to something about incels and how attractive you are or aren't, and what the ratio is on dating apps. I don't understand what any of that has to do with my question.
Well, that's, you say, how do people interact? You know, they interact by meeting each other in person.
That's not what I asked.
I mean,
that's not what I asked. I asked why you are poo-pooing how other people interact and suggesting that your way is better.
Well, because we're, like you said, we're social animals. We evolved socially. Technology has only been around for what? Maybe about the past 160 years, and we have 100,000 years of evolution where we interacted personally, one-on-one, with individuals, and that's the way maybe our brains work. Working,
I'm
like
still
the
lost,
idea
Carl.
of
Carl, the question that I've asked, so there are people who are engaging with each other on social media, and you are engaging with people outside of social media. Are the people on social media coming to you and saying your method of engaging is inferior and harmful? Because you're going to them and saying that their way of interacting is inferior and harmful. Why is their way inferior and harmful and your way not inferior and harmful?
I just don't think we're, built to, be on screens all the time.
Well, you're clearly wrong, as the overwhelming majority of people are. And what do you mean built to? Evolution doesn't have any intent. There's not some God guiding the process. People can grow and change. And in the same way that you can have a conversation with someone while riding a bike, I can have a conversation with someone on Facebook or Twitter.
That's true. That's true. And like we're having this conversation
what I'm asking
now over the phone
is, I'm trying to get to, are you just being, get off my lawn, don't show me any of this newfangled stuff, I wish the world still worked the way it used to? Or do you have some other reason to say that the way that everybody else is engaging is inferior?
Well, from the studies I've seen, that the growing depression and lack of social skills among, say, like millennials?
Okay, I'm exhausted. I'm not here. So first of all, I'm Gen X, and I get called boomer all the time, and it annoys the shit out of me because boomer is ageist crap, the same way millennial, pointing out millennials are socially awkward. That's also ageist crap. It's you are just engaging in the same bigotry that's being tossed at you. Why can't you just stop?
I should have, maybe looked up that article that I cited from like Psychology Today. I didn't come with that.
What article could possibly excuse bigotry?
It's not that. It's about.
It is that
the amount of depression and the rise in suicide among young people because they think
maybe it's because old people. Maybe it's because old people are fucking judging them. Did you ever think of that?
I'm not.
You're not.
I'm just citing
Yes, you are.
Citing studies.
No, you're not, Carl. You're making judgments about people. That's what I was calling you out from the beginning. And it's no different from somebody making judgments about you. It would be like if some millennial said, "Hey, boomer, I'm sorry that you're so afraid of technology." I would knock them the fuck out. Well, not literally, but I mean figuratively. I'm not going to tolerate that. I'm not here to support ageism against the old or the young or the middle or anything else. If you make a fallacious argument, if you're talking about a particular age group and being dismissive of the age group, that's ageism, period. I have zero interest in it. If you don't want to engage on technology, that's fine. But you're like, oh, well, this explains why there's so much, depression and suicide and everything. No, it doesn't.
Well, okay, I've been out with friends, and
Me too.
I do admit they all have smartphones, and nothing annoys me more than when they're.
I don't give a shit what annoys
around.
you. I don't give a shit what annoys you, Carl. What annoys you is not relevant to this discussion, is it?
How is it not relevant?
If you just called in to tell me what annoys you, you should call another show. If you're calling in to say that social media is harmful and you have a better way, it doesn't matter whether it annoys you. So why bring up what annoys you?
It's not that it annoys me. It's what these studies have shown about, in places like Psychology Today, talking about how toxic social
I don't care.
media
You're not being
is.
honest, and I don't care to continue because you just brought up how much it annoys you. And when I pointed out that what annoys you is irrelevant to the discussion, that wasn't good enough. And so now you're just going to say, oh, well, I read this thing in Psychology Today. Well, congratulations. I was asking why you are telling other people that their way of doing stuff is wrong and your way of doing stuff is right. It is no less problematic. Well, all right, Carl hung up. It's no less problematic or ageist for old people to mock young people for doing things differently than the way they do than it is for young people to do the same thing. It's like, I can mock myself and say, oh, I'm getting curmudgeonly or whatever else. But if you're sitting here saying, you brought up incels, which, by the way, for those who didn't know, incels is the label for people who are involuntarily celibate, which basically means whiny little bitches who think they're owed sex. That's the truth of what incels is. Incels are people who feel like they are owed sex from someone else. And the answer is nobody is owed sex from anybody else on the planet ever. Nobody owes you sex. It sucks that some people are going to be alone. As someone who was alone for 14 years, mostly because I didn't seek out any serious relationships, it sucks. I have friends who are constantly bemoaning the fact that they are alone and don't have people to interact with. My heart goes out to them because I know that companionship is important And seeking companionship is important, but not everybody's going to get companionship. The world isn't fair, and nobody owes you a relationship or sex. It requires work and effort. And that sometimes requires you to see how other people do things and stop judging them for it and say, you know what? They do it differently than I do. I can deal with that. No, this nonsense that people get into of, it's not fair that nobody will have sex with me. Well, the second someone starts talking about how nobody will have sex with them and it's not fair, I'm like, why would anybody want to? What is it about you feeling like you're owed sex and owed a relationship that would make anybody find that attractive? Oh, well, maybe I'm not the most handsome. So what? I'm not the most handsome. Lots of people aren't the most handsome. I know some people who don't remotely fit the stereotypical standards of beauty. And you know what? Some of them are incredibly wonderful people who are in wonderful relationships, because not everybody's necessarily looking for the same thing. But if all you're going to do is be like, I don't understand why people are on social media. It's destroying the world and it's awful. And I don't even have a smartphone. And yet, once upon a time I could go out and date, but all the dating app sites are now 10-to-1 men. Well, sorry that there's competition, but that's the way the world works. It almost feels like, hey, somebody's complaining because the world isn't fair. I feel bad that people have been lied to. So let's fix this right now. You can't be anything you want to be. You can't do anything you want to do. You are not the wonderful, beautiful, special person that your mom might have made you think you are. Nobody owes you a moment of their time. Nobody owes you an explanation for who they are. Nobody owes you sex. Nobody owes you a relationship. Nobody owes you explanations for why they're doing things a certain way. And I'm not just talking to the last caller. This is across the board. Stop telling, it's one thing to say, to encourage kids to say, hey, if you put your mind to it and you work, that is the best way to have the best chance of accomplishing your goals. But when you simplify it to, you can be anything you want to be. No, you can't. I can't be an NBA player. I can't. I'm too old, I'm too short, too unathletic. It's just a fact. I'm almost certainly never going to be president, in part because I don't ever plan to run, but also I'm not qualified. I'm eligible. There's a difference between eligibility and qualifications. I'm not remotely qualified. If I were to run for president of the United States, it would be basically on a platform of, I'm going to find the best people who are qualified to do all the best jobs, and I'm going to listen to them. And I'm going to be the buck stops here guy of, okay, you guys gave me the information and I'll make the decision. And maybe that's the best way to do it. And some people would vote for me. And maybe it's the worst way to do it. I don't know, because I don't remotely know enough to be the president of the United States. And yet I'm absolutely, unequivocally, I don't think this is remotely debatable, way more intelligent than Donald Trump, way more knowledgeable than Donald Trump, way more honest than Donald Trump. And yet he was president. So given the choice between having Trump or me, I think any sane, reasonable person should vote for me. And yet I'm sitting here telling you, don't vote for me. I'm not going to run because I shouldn't be president. I just happen to think that Donald Trump also shouldn't be president. And that goes for a lot of people. I think there have been other presidents that had no business being president. But we have other calls to get to. Let's hope they go well. We have, is it Tio Ivanovic in Croatia? Is that right?
Tio Ivanovic in Croatia. Yeah, Matt.
Welcome, Tio. How are you?
How are you, bro? How you doing?
I'm all right. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I just calling this question, does God exist? Actually, I'm at the point right now to really ask myself, what my parents teach me all my life, does God exist or not? I'm questioning right now. I'm questioning, should I be still believing God or should I be atheist?
Well, I appreciate that. Let me try to make this easy. whether or not you believe in God isn't like a choice. It's not like a decision you make, right? You're either actually convinced that a God exists or you're not convinced. So the only question to ask yourself is, am I actually convinced that there is a God?
I'm in half, to be honest with you.
You're what?
I'm a half. Sometimes I believe there is a God. Sometimes I don't believe there is a God.
Okay, so if that's what's happening, then sometimes you're an atheist and sometimes you're a theist. I used to be a theist. I'm now an atheist.
Okay.
I get that you're kind of vacillating between two positions, and that's fine. Nobody has to be something all the time. When you find that you are convinced that there's a God, what is it that you find convincing?
Well, like I had experience 2012, and I don't know, like was it a hallucination or what? But it was a so strong experience, and I'm not a crazy guy. I never use drugs. I never drink, so I don't know. I had this experience had really strong effect on me, and like sometimes when I remember that, I ask myself, "Was that really God speaking to me? Wait, what the hell?" Or like I imagine everything. But then I ask myself, like there is a million people in this world having experienced the supernatural. Is it possible that all of them are lying? All of them have hallucinations, or like that's what still makes me believe there is something, because how is possible that like millions of people who have experience about something supernatural they experience, that all of them have hallucinations or they're lying? That's not possible.
Nope. Nobody in the history of the world has ever demonstrated that they've actually had a supernatural experience. Not once.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
There are plenty of people who think they've had an experience that is supernatural, but that's them reaching a conclusion about the nature of the experience and a conclusion that they can't demonstrate. So what was your experience that is still lingering that you're clinging to?
Well, let me just ask you a question. How to demonstrate something that cannot be demonstrated? That's the problem. How to prove? I would love to prove it, but how is it possible?
Your question answers itself and shows the problem. If it can't be demonstrated, then it can't be demonstrated. And if it can't be demonstrated, then you have no justification for believing that you have an understanding of what the cause is.
Actually, that's a really good answer. That's a really great answer.
Yeah. Yep. And if you have no way of saying, because I have no problem at all with the fact that you had an experience. I've had experiences. My mom has had experiences. Other people I know have had experiences. My mom thinks she's seen a demon. My mom is absolutely convinced that she has seen a demon, and more than once, but I'm just going to use one particular example where she is convinced that she saw the demon of alcoholism on my grandfather's shoulder because my grandfather was an alcoholic. Now, I have no problem at all with the fact that my mom believes she had an experience, but reaching a conclusion that the experience was in fact the demon of alcoholism means that you have to presuppose a number of things that you can't prove. You have to presuppose that demons exist, that there's a specific demon for alcoholism, that you can see the demon of alcoholism, that it would sit on somebody's shoulder, that it would influence somebody's behavior, over their own mind, etc. And then all the baggage that led to that. Not one of those components is anything that my mom can demonstrate. And so my mom has a belief. Whether or not it can be demonstrated, we don't know, but it has never been demonstrated. She has no way to demonstrate it. And yet she believes a collection of things. She believes that there is a demon, that it's a demon of alcoholism, that she was granted to see it and so it's this cascade of, I had an experience and now I'm going to explain it, because it's very frustrating to have an experience and then say, I don't know what that was. I have no way to explain it. But that's the right answer almost every time. And as long as the right answer is, I had an experience, I can't explain it, then the only correct position is to say, I cannot reach a conclusion about that. And what's worse is if your natural inclination is to conclude that because of the experience you had, that there is a God, then you should be asking yourself, why won't God provide a demonstration that clears this up? Because if God's going to give you, like, for example, let me stick with my mom's scenario. Maybe this will be clear. My mom thinks that God allowed her to see the demon of alcoholism. If that scenario is true, that means there's a God that intentionally provided my mom with robust evidence for demons and God, and yet won't do it again, won't provide that same experience in any sort of testable fashion to anybody else. Now, what's more likely? That there's a God that just gave my mom this one example and won't do it again and won't provide evidence and won't share it with anybody else, or that my mom is wrong about what she experienced. It doesn't have to be a lie. It doesn't have to be you're crazy. You could just be wrong. Like, I had an experience and I reached an incorrect conclusion about what it was. We do that all the time when we see optical illusions. So if you can't reach a conclusion, how could you ever be convinced that there's a God?
Yeah, can I tell you real fast? My experience is going to last for like 1 minute.
Sure, yeah, go.
Yeah, like, okay, that day I was like, my mom was a very religious person, and I was having a conversation with her and her friend about God, that does God exist? And it kind of makes me mad that she was like a little bit too much religious. That was making me mad, and I was annoyed by that all the time. Yeah. And like, that day I was really like, I was just talking all crap about there is no God and all that just to make her mad and her friend, because they were kind of going on my nerves. So I was talking, there is no God, and I was saying the God doesn't exist, why he would let all bad things in the world happen, you know, and all that. And I really overreacted. I was really offending God, like in a really bad ways. Like, and then later on, I mean, night time, I was ready to go to sleep. I lay down on the bed and I started praying to God. All of a sudden, like, I don't know how to go, this is going to sound totally crazy. Like, I was praying to God, like, please God, like, forgive me for that. I'm not praying like, my mom was Catholic, so I'm not praying like Catholics, usual Catholic. I was praying like, God, please forgive me for this, what I said, and all that. And all of a sudden, my lips sealed. I couldn't open my lips. I swear this happened, like, my lips sealed. I couldn't open my lips. All of a sudden, I felt the pressure on my chest. It was like thousands and thousands of tons, like a pressure on my chest. And then I heard a voice. It was like, it was no English language, Croatian language, nothing like that. I just heard a telepathic voice telling me, like, why do you praying to me if you don't believe in me? I heard that. And while I was hearing that voice, I was not terrified. I was not scared. I just felt it. You cannot imagine how much love I felt for that voice. All space, all time around me stops. I was not aware of nothing. I was not aware of my family. Nobody. That voice was what only mattered to me. And I tried to reach it and grab it, how much love I felt for that voice. And I heard like the voice telling me, why are you praying to me if you don't believe in me? And how do you explain that? Like my lips like sealed, and I heard that voice like, I don't know how to explain that, but that was such a strong experience.
Okay. So I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to be insulting, but it's going to be insulting. You are exaggerating. Okay. You are absolutely, undeniably exaggerating, because you, in order to make your story more convincing, you went down to all space and time stopped. How would you know that all space and time stopped?
Because that moment I was aware of that. There was nothing around.
If time stopped, you can't be aware of anything.
No, Matt. Let me explain you. I was aware there was nothing around me existing. Just me and that voice connected in my eye. That's how I was feeling. That's the moment how I was feeling. I'm not.
What I'm saying is that if time stopped, you could not be aware of anything, because awareness occurs over a period of time. How did you verify that time? How did you verify that time stopped?
Because I was not aware of anything. I was not aware of my family, of anything.
If you were not aware of anything, now, Tio, if you were not aware of anything, how do you know you were not aware of anything?
Because that's how I was feeling.
No, that is a contradiction. If you are aware that you're not aware of anything, then you are aware of something.
Okay, no. Maybe I said wrong. Okay, when I came back from there, like I don't know what kind of like a situation, what kind of feeling is that when I came back to normal reality?
When
then
you came back? What do you mean when you came
when
back?
Okay, I don't know how to say all words in English, so like that's how I don't know how to express myself. When I came back to normal, like right now awareness. When I came back to awareness, now I know that I was that. Then I was not aware. I was not aware of anything. Now I know that when I came back to normal awareness, I know that.
How long were you unaware before you came back?
I cannot tell you that. For how long, I cannot tell you that because I cannot remember that. Was it like 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 10 seconds? I cannot say that. I don't know. But
so
I swear
if you have no idea, then how do you know time stopped?
I'm telling you, when I came back to awareness, I was not aware of nothing, no space, no time.
I'm sorry, Tio, but you don't seem to be understanding. Let's say at exactly 9 p.m., my awareness stops.
Okay.
At some point later, my awareness begins again, and I don't know how much time has passed because I didn't look at the clock to know that it stopped at 9 o'clock. Okay?
Okay.
So maybe it's 9 and 1 second, maybe it's 9 and 3 seconds, maybe it's 10 o'clock, and I don't know because I don't know exactly what time it stopped. But if that's the case, then I cannot conclude that time stopped because time definitely passed. I resumed awareness at a later time than the 9 o'clock. You cannot both say time stopped and you came back later because later doesn't exist if time stopped. If time stopped and restarted, then it's still now. It is instantaneous. If I stop time right now, you would not be aware that time stopped because time has stopped. And if I stop time and restart time, for you, nothing has happened.
Okay.
There was no period of time when you were there. So this is what I'm saying. When we retell these stories to ourselves, we tend to exaggerate. And so you're like, oh, space-time stop. And I get it. It's very difficult to come up with a language, especially in your case. You're speaking English as a second language. Your English is better than my any other language. And so I'm not going to fault you for that. It's wonderful. I'm glad we can have a conversation.
You always say that on the shows. I want you at least experience almost every day. You always say that. I knew you were going to say that.
It's great. It's great because my Spanish is like, I took 2 years of Spanish in high school and I can barely say a sentence. It's ridiculous. The fact that you're able to conceptualize things and talk in another language is one of the most impressive things. It's incredibly, it's brilliant.
I used to live 4 years in Los Angeles.
But that has nothing to do with your experience. And so if at the end of the day, you experience something and you don't know how to describe it and you don't know what it is, and you yourself are alternating between believing that this experience was from God and not believing that this experience was from God, then how can I don't understand. If I found a $100 bill sitting on my front porch, if I found a $100 bill sitting on my front porch, and for a minute, I believed that it was God just creating a miracle and giving me money I needed. And then later on, I began to doubt, well, maybe that wasn't God. Nothing could ever once again convince that it was God. There's some new evidence. So what's the new evidence that pulls you back to God? Because at some point, your experience was enough to make you believe there was a God. And then eventually it became not enough, which means something must have been added to it to make it enough again. So what was it?
I don't know how to answer you that, seriously, because just my experience, and sometimes I also believe it's a good thing to believe in, like a loving God. I don't believe in a God like a church God, like a God.
Whoa. Why do you think it's a good thing to believe in a God if it's not true?
What do you mean if it's not true?
Well, if it's not true, would it be a good thing to believe in a God?
I cannot determine if it's true or not, if God exists or not. Nobody can determine that.
No, I didn't ask you if you can determine. Let's assume that there is no God, would it be good to believe in a God if in fact there isn't one?
Actually, that would be awful thing.
Yes. And so now we live in a world where neither of us have any way to demonstrate whether there is a God or not. So if we live in a world where you can't demonstrate that a God exists, how do you know it's a good thing to believe in a God? Because it's possible that there isn't a God, which means it's possible that it's wrong, that it would not be good.
Because I believe it's a good thing, because I believe maybe I'm going to sound a little bit selfish, but like I believe in a loving God, God who like a God who has no judgments, who's not going to send you to hell, all that crap. I believe in a loving God who's going to forgive you all your sins. And
that's ridiculous. You're basically, you might as well say the God I believe in is really cool, so I think it's worth believing in. Well, how nice your God is not relevant to whether or not it's the real God. What if you believe in a God that isn't real? What if there's a real God and he's a dick?
I didn't say. I know, but I didn't say my God should be real. I didn't say maybe the God who I believe.
Teo, stop. You are saying that you think it's a good thing because the God you believe in is good.
Okay.
But if the God you believe in is not the real God, then it would still be a bad thing to believe in a good God if a good God doesn't exist, right?
Yeah, it would be a bad thing, but all of us cannot determine what
and so if you have no way to demonstrate whether or not there's a God, then it would be a really bad thing to believe in a God before there's a demonstration that that God exists, right? Because you could be believing in the wrong one.
Yeah, I can also tell you opposite. Same as you told me right now, I can say the opposite thing. That you are wrong, because let's say there is a God like that.
No.
Let's say there is a God like that.
No, sir. You've already admitted that neither of us can demonstrate that there is a God, and neither of us can demonstrate that the God you would prefer existed is real. And so in the world we live in, neither of us can either demonstrate that a God exists or demonstrate that a God doesn't exist, which means it is always a mistake to believe in a God when you can't demonstrate that that God exists.
Why would be a mistake? So you think it's only good
I can explain that.
Something...
No, stop. It is either true that you have $1 billion or it's not true. Correct?
Okay.
If you believe that you have $1 billion, just because having $1 billion would be nice, is that a good thing or not?
It's not.
So literally, you're saying it would not be a good idea to believe that you have $1 billion just because it would be nice if you had $1 billion. And yet that is exactly why you are believing in a God. You are saying you believe there's a God because the God you believe in is good. You're not, and the time to believe something is when it's true, not just when it's appealing.
Okay, let me ask you a question then.
Okay.
Okay, you are in a relationship. You have a girlfriend, right? Let's say, for example, you have a girlfriend.
Yep. Yes, I do.
No, I'm saying as example. I don't know if you are or if you're not, but I'm saying as example.
I'm saying I do, and I understand the example. Yes, Arden has lived with me for over a year.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So how you are in a relationship with her based on your faith that she loves you and she's not cheating on you, or you're going to go out after her every single day and make sure you see with your own eyes that she's not cheating on you? How are you going to determine that?
I don't see how this is relevant to this, but here's the thing.
Relevant.
No, it's not relevant. You are incredibly confused, and I'm going to show you why it's not relevant. My belief in whether or not my partner is cheating on me is based on evidence, and my conviction as to whether or not they are is entirely based on evidence. Is there a possibility that I could be wrong about it? Yes, but my confidence is proportional to the actual evidence. And so, as I'm in a relationship where somebody, it's a polyamorous relationship where somebody can go out there. There's no such thing as, there is such a thing as cheating. It would be lying. I can't tell whether or not somebody has ever lied to me, but that's not relevant because What we're saying is, would it be good for me to believe that she's not cheating on me if in fact she is? No, that would not be a good thing. But that's not the position I'm in. My position is that I am confident in the nature of our relationship because we have an open, honest set of discussions and rules. And if you said, are you sure that she's not running around having sex with somebody else? I would say, no, I'm not absolutely certain, but I'm not absolutely certain about anything. But none of that has anything to do with what we're talking about, because the issue was, do you believe there's a God? And you're saying, yes, you do, because it would be nice if that were true. I don't believe that Arden is not cheating on me because it would be nice if she wasn't. I believe that she's not cheating on me because the very nature of our relationship and the agreement and the conversations that we have a sufficiently strong evidential foundation to make me confident in the nature of my relationship. Period.
Sorry, but I don't agree with you, because you can never have enough
evidence
for something.
No, you are wrong. This is a straight up logical thing. If you believe something without a good reason, that is irrational. I believe something for a good reason. That is rational.
Well, let me I just told you the good reason. How you can determine this was happened to me was a hallucination, or that this really didn't happen?
I can't determine. See now you're just being ridiculously defensive. Stop talking. I can't tell you whether what happened to you was a hallucination or not. I can't. Nobody can, and neither can you. But when you believe it's not, when you have no way to demonstrate it's not, that is a failing on your part. You are being irrational.
And you cannot determine that your partner is cheating on you or not. How you can determine that? You are wrong, not me, man.
No, sir, I'm sorry, but you are wrong. I can, in fact, determine that to the extent that I believe it.
You believing the way you believe it, the strong how you believe it, doesn't have nothing to do with the reality. Reality is something else.
I'm sorry that this is so confusing. I'm sorry that this is so confusing for you, but you seem to think that I should have absolute certainty that someone is cheating on me or not. And I'm saying I don't have absolute certainty about anything. I have a confidence level that is proportional to the evidence, period.
I'm not talking about, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about your relationship. I'm just giving as an example. But I'm saying, okay,
no,
so let's say I'm in a home.
You are confusing whether or not you can demonstrate something is true with whether or not you can demonstrate something is false. You are suggesting, all I'm saying is that, let's say I'm in a relationship with a person. If I believe that they are being loyal to me, it is based on evidence. Could I be wrong about that? Yes, because I'm not absolutely certain about anything. And so my confidence level, how confident I am that something is true, is proportional to the evidence. Your confidence level in a God is not proportional to the evidence, because you admit that you can't know whether it's true or not, but you are convinced that it's true. You can't even know whether it's likely true or not, and yet you are convinced it is true. That is, by definition, irrational. It is not irrational to have a confidence that the person that you're engaged in an adult relationship with and communicating with is not cheating on you, because you begin with the default assumption that generally you begin with, there is no God until such time as the evidence supports that there is. And similarly, you begin with, I'm in a trusting relationship. There's no reason to think that somebody's lying to me until there's evidence for that lie. That's how rationality works.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
actually, you know what? I agree with you. You're right.
Meanwhile, in my particular case, I don't think the two of us have been apart long enough for her to have cheated on me with anybody. But it's also not cheating. But it's also not cheating if you're in an open relationship. I got to move on.
I totally understand what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying right now. I totally got you.
Cool. Then I got to move on because we got one more call to get to and I'm running out of time.
Okay, Matt. It was such a pleasure talking to you, bro.
Thank you so much. Thanks for calling. All right, last call for today, and then we're going to get on super chats. We have Matt, an atheist, talking to Matt, an atheist. Pronouns for both of us are he, him. So welcome, Matt. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Matt. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I love the conversations where the fact that I can't be certain of something suddenly means it's equally likely as something that's untestable. Faith is a confidence that people have when there's nothing warranting it, and to pretend that because you can't be certain about, well, it's like a chair thing, not to steal the last conversation and make it yours. If I'm going to sit down in a chair, I can't ever be 100% certain that it's going to hold my girth. It could break, but I can be reasonably confident, and I might be wrong. But the fact that I'm reasonably confident and it's evidence-based and I could be wrong doesn't mean that my confidence in the chair is equally irrational to my confidence that a God exists. That was the point for the last call. Now let's welcome Matt. What do you got?
Hey, thanks, Matt. I just want to first start off by saying, I've been a long-time listener, and I came across your program with the atheist experience when I was kind of at a formative point in my understanding of religion. I was raised Catholic and kind of always had doubts, but really moved away from it in university. And so, thank you for all the stuff you put out there, and it's been very helpful. What I want to talk about, are you still wanting to talk about Twitter, or you more want to dive into the atheism topic, or what are you in the mood for?
Whatever your question is, I want to answer it, and then we've got to get on to the super chats because the last call ran a little long, but I appreciate you. So
sure,
whatever you want to talk about.
I'll keep it quick. I guess, on the religion topic, I feel that I have what is probably a more charitable view when it comes to the question of, the nature of Christianity in the average person's life. So, for example, my community growing up, my entire family is very Catholic, but I had a great experience. Like the people in my community were wonderful. The priest was great. I just purely disagreed on, the supernatural claims. So I feel that, at least in my experience, religion for most of the people who I grew up with in my religious community was a very positive thing on their lives. Now I feel like for people like me and people obviously like you, we're able to get what those folks get from church outside of the supernatural claims. And I think that works for a lot of people, including me. But I do think for a lot of people, it is a positive thing. It's a chance for them to meet once a week with the community, talk about, their place in the universe. And I think for the average churchgoer, it's probably a positive thing. Obviously, there's problematic communities out there, and there's some people who don't have that same experience. I can't really venture a guess on the proportion. But I guess I would like to get your thoughts on that.
Okay. I'm sure that a lot of people view their religious experiences as positive. And while there are certainly benefits that people get from participation with religious groups, I don't think the positives in any sense outweigh the negatives. And my only concern is it true? I'm sure there are people who take really damaging, harmful drugs who feel like they've had positive experiences. I've taken drugs. I've had positive experiences on drugs. I'm sure that there are people who have engaged in dangerous behaviors, not just drugs, but just dangerous behaviors that they got something positive out of. My concern with religion isn't whether or not there are positive things within it. It's whether or not it's true. And if it's not true, then it is not as positive as they are thinking it is. Meanwhile, generally speaking, when you look at like Christianity, I don't find it to be positive. I find it to be divisive. I find it to be repugnant. The Bible is a grossly immoral book. The only way to make it moral is to cherry pick and basically alter what the sound, bare bones reading doctrine ought to be, and to make it something that you like better. So there are these incredibly gay friendly churches. I've been to them. They got rainbows up everywhere, and they're like, Jesus loves us all, and all this stuff. So they've tried to put as positive a spin on garbage as they can. And the things that are positive about religion have nothing to do with the religions. What they have to do with are people and community. Having a community of people you can interact with who, will help you when you're down, who will be supportive and encouraging. None of those things are facets that are unique to religion. Those are all things that religions have co-opted. Name one positive thing about religion. Name one positive thing about religion that is true and unique to religion.
Yeah, that was Hitchens' challenge, and I can't claim to solve that one. No, and I agree when it comes to the cherry picking nature of it. And my community in particular, we obviously got the positive teachings, and while I agree there's some value to that, I absolutely agree you can get that outside of the church as well, which is obviously where I get it as well. So yeah, that's kind of one topic. On the Twitter thing, I'm curious about that. I saw on I saw a couple of threads that you tweeted on that. What I'm unclear on at this point is, will the identity verification be expanded as part of the program? I presume that it will, only because I would be shocked if they were to do away with that. Because
why would you be shocked? Why would you be shocked that the idiot who decided to charge people to keep their check mark, who offered no statement at all on the process other than power to the people, it's available to everybody, $8 a month. Why would you presume that verification would become more robust under that model?
Well, he made one statement about how this will improve, or it's necessary to reduce bot and spam activity. And I cannot imagine a scenario where they don't maintain some kind of identity verification, and that could be remotely true. I think it would obviously be detrimental.
It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything at all to counter the bots. All it means is that some bots are going to pay and some bots aren't.
So that doesn't. I mean, in a case. So imagine this: in a case where you pay $8 a month, somebody like me, who's not a public figure, pay $8 a month. You would have your identity verified. This would mean a couple things. Number one, you would only be able to have one Twitter account tied to you, and you wouldn't be able to create, I couldn't make a Matt Dillahunty account and get a check mark on that because they wouldn't be able to verify that I'm you. So I can imagine it being helpful.
Why not? There are multiple Matt Dillahunties on this. There are multiple Matt Dillahunties on this planet. There are two of us in Austin.
Do they? Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. If I had your legal name, I guess that would be a much smaller risk that you would have somebody who shares your name and is trying to impersonate you. But that's a fair point.
What if you don't want to be on there? What if you don't want to be on there under your real name? You want to have a pseudonym. What if you are, Jack's, septic eye?
Well, then I guess you're not going to be able to. Then I guess you're not going to be able to get a check mark.
No. That's not true. That's not true. Jimmy, do you have a check mark?
I do not.
Jimmy does not. I think Seth might, but there are people who use pseudonyms that still get verified. There are celebrities who aren't using their real name who are verified under their stage name.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Also, right now in the current Twitter verification system, once you are verified, people then change their names and profile photos, but not their username. So when Donald Trump wasn't on, when Elon Musk took over, a bunch of people who were verified changed their photo to look exactly like Trump and their name to look exactly like Trump, and their check mark stayed in place.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's another edge case that I didn't think of. So very good point.
Also, trans people don't want to be forced to use their dead names, which has been a problem with Facebook verification in the past.
Yes, that's probably the strongest point, is that in the same way celebrities might not use their name, trans people might not want to use their name, and certainly not a dead name if people are going to outlaw changing names, or if it's incredibly difficult to do. But yeah, at the end of the day,
those are all fair points. And you don't have to convince me.
At the end of the day, I didn't seek out. I didn't seek out a verification check mark. Didn't look for it at all. Somebody came after me and were like, "Oh, look, Matt thinks he's better than you." I don't think I'm better. Well, all right, there are people that I'm definitely better than, but I don't think I'm better than people generally. And the check mark certainly doesn't show that I'm better. All it does is show that when you find Matt Dillahunty with, the former host of the Atheist Experience and former ACA president and host of, the Hang Up and all this stuff, when you find that account that has a check mark, at least it shows that you're finding the real me, to whatever extent that means. But The second Elon is like, hey, Matt, if you want to keep your check mark, you can pay me $8 a month. I can tell him he can rim me after tacos, because people are the product on Twitter. They're selling the things that I like and the things that I share. And I'm producing content for them, and I am feeding their advertiser algorithms. They should absolutely be paying us, and they should be paying the people with the most followers who are getting those people involved the most money. I mean, but they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done, is we've said, okay, we'll give you access to who we are and what we like and everything else in exchange for this platform. The contract is already, that's it. That is my payment for using Twitter, is that they get information about me. If they want my money too, I'll leave Twitter. I don't need Twitter. There'll be a competitor that won't be like that.
Yeah, I think that's more than fair. And you've raised some interesting edge cases that I didn't think about. I'm going to remain somewhat hopeful that they're not going to completely do away with identity verification. But yeah, it's going to be a problem. And I mean, I'm a firm Elon critic. He's just a vaporware salesman, in my opinion. But anyway, I appreciate you taking the call. I won't take up any more time. But yeah,
we got supers to get to you. Much appreciated, Matt. Appreciate the question and the thoughts on there. All right. Jimmy's going to join me because it's easier for him to put two faces on the screen than one for super chats.
That's true. Also, I almost brought my thing in as you were saying, well, there are definitely some people I'm better than. And I almost hit the button, and I thought that'd be funny, but didn't know if it would get lost.
It's fine. It's one of those things where, I mean, somebody's always trying to fool my fan base into thinking they're me, and somebody else is always hating on me or whatever else. And I've gotten mostly used to it. But when somebody comes at me to say, oh, Matt thinks he's better than you, my response is just going to be, no, I don't think I'm better than everybody or better than them, but I am better than you. The person making this, not Jimmy, the person making that objection.
I don't have quite this problem. I have the recent problem because we've been doing so much together. I keep getting the moniker the worse Matt Dillahunty, which I don't disagree with. Why would I want to partner with somebody true. I'm better than? That's the whole reason everybody who appears on this channel, it means they met the minimum threshold that I think they're better than me. That's how it works.
Yeah. And I don't even know how you could really do in all seriousness, person A is a better person than person B. You'd have to list up, stack up your criteria and figure it out. Am I a better person than Donald J. Trump? Fucking A.
Yeah, that's easy.
And in every way I can think of, except money.
Yeah.
As into which has more money, because no matter how broke he is, I'm more broke.
Yeah.
Well, that may not be true. Donald Trump could be like billions of dollars in debt with all of his illegal crap. But he could be like Alex Jones, where he's going to owe $1 billion in court cases.
See, that's Jones, though. Trump is the type of billions of dollars in debt where he can then go and take out another $1 billion of debt. So while he might have a negative value, he still has access to another $1 billion if he needs it. That's like a different type of rich poor, and it's capitalism at its finest.
Let's before we start in the supers, let's make sure that we do the announcements real quick, because it's been a crazy hectic show.
Yeah, this was a weird one. I'm not going to lie. I try to not get conspiratorial, but at the beginning, I was wondering, because every piece of tech, I'm not kidding, checked out, and I'm still not convinced that hanging up the phone and reconnecting it actually fixed it. I've got a little bit of a conspiracy going that somewhere a Discord was going like, hey guys, let's all call in and just waste time. Maybe don't answer when they pick us up. Maybe let's send that one guy in who says 6 words and then pauses for 15 seconds. I don't know.
So strange, but
but then when you called it out, got very fast right after. It was fucking weird.
Somebody in chat just said, play Powerball, Matt. I actually did. Well, I view lotteries generally as a tax on people who are bad at math. When it's over $1 billion, I'll get a ticket. And that way, if Arden and I win, we can send a thank you note to Kanye and let him know that we're richer than him. I didn't dig in on Kanye. Before we get to all the super chats, which we're going to do, and we're going to go through kind of like we always do, I want to repeat a few things. First of all, you're watching a show called The Hang Up right here on the network called The Line, where we have just at this moment right now 72,600 subscribers. You can contribute to that number by subscribing if you're not already, and if you don't want to, That's fine. You can also thumbs up, thumbs down, however you want to do it. There's a lot that goes on here on the line, and we're changing some things and expanding other things. I'm thrilled to be here doing this. We'll also be, Jimmy and I will be doing the Sunday show this Sunday, and in upcoming Sunday shows in that 3 to 4:30 time slot, there will be other hosts and co-hosts on there as well, as we continue to keep doing that. It's just that, I have Sundays available now, so
yeah,
I can just do Sunday shows.
And on my end, tomorrow, until we hire somebody new, if I'm here producing anyway, at a certain point, I'm like, just put me on. I don't give a fuck. That's how
tomorrow, Arden and student Dr. Ben will be doing the Transatlantic Call-In Show, which is your opportunity to call in and talk to real trans people about trans issues. Are you a bigot? Have you been called a bigot and you think it was wrong of somebody to do so? Do you think I'm not really transphobic, but trans women aren't women and I want to do this? Trans men aren't men and I want to talk about that? Call in, talk to them. That's what the show is for. It's your chance to do the I've never actually spoken to a trans person. You're not going to get a better opportunity. And if you're confused about something, maybe you've got somebody in your family or maybe you're concerned about trans kids and transitions. Maybe you're concerned about how Governor Abbott has decided to target trans kids, and he's not alone, and to go after their families and stuff. But then Governor Abbott has also targeted legal immigrants and used them as pawns and props, which is why we are 1 week away from Election Day. And the only reason I'm not wearing my Beto t-shirt right now is because I wore it all day yesterday while I was out and about shopping so that everybody could see it. We're going to have more shows between now and Election Day, but by all means, tune in tomorrow for Transatlantic Call-In Show and tune in this Sunday for the Sunday show.
Yeah, the two topics I know that they're doing on Transatlantic tomorrow, I think for sure. One is going to be basically the topic of allies perhaps accidentally in misguided ways appropriating things from trans culture they should be more cautious and aware of. And then the right-wing switch to try and describe or attribute basically all minor care as genital mutilation, and the way they're trying to use medical terms while being defiant of actual medical guidances. And so those will be great topics. And then on Friday, we're going to do an impromptu show that we haven't figured out what we're going to do yet, but we're going to be testing a new call-in system. Matt, when you were talking to the caller earlier, I was thinking we could make that episode. The topic is call in and tell us what annoys you, but we might tell you you're a piece of shit for what if you decide it's something shitty, just so you know. But that might be the topic.
It looks like probably Friday we'll go live and test out a new call-in system. And then what I would like for us to do is just rapid fire it. Let's find out what the delay is like. Let's find out what the system can handle.
Same.
Let's find out, how people are able to hear things. And I don't know, we may be able to solve a bunch of problems here.
That'd be great. And you'll get to hear about what annoys me, which are usually mostly tech issues.
And me. What annoys Jimmy? Tech issues and Matt.
No.
It's so funny because Jimmy would be like, hey, who are you having on Wednesday and what's the topic going to be? I'm like, I don't know. I'll know what I'm hung up on when I get hung up on.
But then you'll randomly have moments where you're like, so here's the plan for the next 3 weeks. It sort of goes, It's one or the other. Yeah.
I can tell you right now, next Wednesday, join here on the Hang Up, Jim Barrows.
There we go.
I confirmed it with him yesterday. Can't wait. And we'll be having a lot of other people on as well. Anyway, $20 from John S. Thank you, John. My question is, how do we deal with those who threaten and carry out political violence? You arrest them and you put them in jail. I hope there's a peaceful solution in sight. Thank you for all you do.
Sorry, somebody in live chat said we should call the Sunday one the pickup in opposition to the hang up. I don't want to attract incels and MGTOWs. I get you're right. That's a good thing if it wouldn't also attract the pickup artist community. So no, but I appreciate the suggestion.
There's enough negativity without people coming in trying to neg me.
Oh, Shannon Mick says, my theory is Twitter cares more about cash and they gambled that they would lose more money by keeping the racists, etc., than by keeping the advertisers and libs happy. Elon will have to learn this too. I'm getting a little bit of delight from, Twitter is a worse place, so I'm not trying to go like, here's the redeeming quality. But he's also not doing everything the Republicans were expecting him to do. and I'm enjoying watching them melt down over that. Laverne Spicer, under almost every message, every tweet he does now, has some like, how come you're letting us down, man? And that makes me feel great, because fuck Laverne Spicer. Anyway, I'll throw the next one up here.
Hey, $14.99. Oh, is that was that A?
Aussie.
Is it Aussie? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Fun tangential fact. Austin, Texas is a sister city to Adelaide, Adelaide, Australia. I had an Austin pen pal in 1986 when I was 10, and I'd love to know how they're doing. Forgot their name, though. Is it a sister city, and how do you declare that? Because if I thought about sister city intuitively, I would have thought it'd be Perth, because when I was in Perth, I was as far from Austin as I could get without boarding a ship of some sort to either sail out into the middle of the ocean to the antipode or heading off into space in a ship. What made
I used to
Adelaide
live in Littleton, Colorado, which had an Australian sister city, and theirs was, if you put a pole basically through Littleton and you run through the middle of the earth, where that would come out on the other side. Okay.
That's the antipode.
Yeah.
And the antipode for Austin is in the middle of the ocean, many miles off the Perth.
Oh, I see. Okay. I guess maybe they have a system for adopting one when you show up in the ocean.
Yep. Thanks, Hank. And yeah, if you want to type in chat and tag me, what makes it a sister city, or how those are, is there an official sister city? Is it just like one day Adelaide reached out and said, hey, Austin, you want to be sister cities? And Austin said, yeah, sure. I don't know. But
Austin and Adelaide sounds like the name of a sitcom. $10 from Donna Valentine.
Thank you, Donna. And I like that. It's an unusual way of spelling Donna.
Yeah.
What if it turned out it was a typo and it was just supposed to be Dawn and they actually hit an extra A? But I think it's Donna. $10 Australian from Danny T. Thoughts on election likely results in any consequences on your mission. Fox News scares me. Appreciate you. Yeah, Fox News scares me too. Mostly what scares me is how many people buy into what Fox News is showing. If I make predictions right now, I think that in Texas, Beto will likely lose. But I think it will be closer than Abbott and others suspected it was going to be. I think you'll hear a lot more talk about Texas again in 2024. And I don't think it'll turn blue then either. I think if I had to guess, and I haven't done the math and looked at it, and I haven't listened to any experts at all, I think Dems will keep the House and maybe edge the Senate a bit just on the backs of women in Roe, because I think overturning Roe, I'm hoping, will have a big enough impact. But honestly, at this point, I have no way to assess any of that. I didn't think there was a chance in hell that Trump would win in 2016, and yet he did. So my predictions are useless.
If it took people 4 weeks to get over grab him by the pussy, I feel like a lot of people, as sad as it is that this is true, especially in states that aren't as restrictive, have already stopped giving a shit about that Roe versus Wade has. So I've stopped saying, like, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to say, pretend that in a week you already know we're going to lose, and now go do everything to change that outcome that you have the power to do.
I saw a post, and I'm not going to mention who it was from, but I saw a post saying, Democrats, if there's a shocking red wave in this election, what are you going to blame it on? And Dark Matter 2525 said fear-mongering, and my response to that was exactly. Fear-mongering is the only close to rational explanation for how there could possibly be a red wave. Now, if in fact there's a blue wave, I would expect violence.
Yeah, because they're going to say, I mean, they're already saying, oh shit, who was it? The wannabe Candace Owens on Twitter talking about how the fact that Biden gave a speech tonight already proves they're planning to steal the election next week. Because, you know, when a politician gives a political speech a week before an election, what else could be the outcome? What other motivation could there be? Fucking idiots. Anyway, I have no strong feelings. $40. Whoa, thank you. From Chinkasai Yaro. I don't know how to say that. Thanks for all you do, Matt, Jimmy, Cookies et al. Yes, we had a new call screener tonight. Thank you, Jess, for screening. Jess. And we had Dylan and others in the modding in the chat. So thank all of you for all you do.
Yeah, everybody who tunes in and watches is a huge help. Everybody who calls in, whether we get into a heated conversation or not, I'm greatly appreciative. I hope we get more theist callers, whether you're on the fence or you just want to call in because you think I'm way wrong. But if you call in because you think I'm wrong, you know, bring your A game.
Yes.
Bring some evidence. But at the end of the day, I'm most grateful for Mika, Dylan, Cookies, everybody who's moderating and helping out across the board. So thanks, everybody.
Excellent.
Egg salad. $10 from Chingasiaro. Sorry, thank you too, Dylan. There you go.
Adding it on. Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Hey, we've only got a few left. If you want to get your live chat in now, support the show, support everything we're doing. The good news is to everybody who heard what I said Sunday, I did find a solution for the call-in thing that's what we're going to be testing. That I think I told you everything I had found replacement-wise was going to be $8,000 to $12,000. This ain't that, and that's what's been great about it. Very.
This may save us $8,000 to $12,000.
That's yearly. LA Silver Surfer says, "How do you feel about religious references in your favorite songs?" You know what doesn't bother me as much as that? It bothers me when they take non-religious songs and try and force it into them. So, for example, David Cohen's Hallelujah is not a Christian hymn. It'd be weird for a secular Jew to write one in the first place. And I think it was incredibly disrespectful, lovely voice notwithstanding, for the woman who sang that song at Joe Biden's inauguration to change the line from "maybe there's a God above" to "I know there's a God above." When you aren't doing parody, you are modifying not just what the artist lyric said, you changed the verse, the intent of the verse. That shit bothers me way more than a person who is Christian referencing. I just imagine I am something of a musician on the side. One day I might share all of that with you. And the knowledge that after I die, somebody might try and just change a word or two and make a song, make a religious point that's a douchey point in the first place and wrong because you don't know there's a God above, that pisses me off far more. But I have no strong thoughts either way. What about you, Matt?
I remember on American Idol one season, there was somebody who did John Lennon's Imagine. And instead of just changing the lyrics, they just skipped the verse of Imagine no religion.
Right.
Which I thought was a nicer way nicer than changing it. But if you skip that verse, either you're being diplomatic because you don't want to offend people by singing, you are Asteroth, but you can call in. You're not changing the song, but to me, it strikes as cowardly and diplomatic because that's one of the most important things about that song. But honestly, I don't like John Lennon's Imagine. I heard it for years at every fucking atheist event we'd go to where somebody be singing it. And it's like, oh my God, I'd rather listen to, and actually they did this. John Lennon's got a song called God. And my friends who have the best Beatles cover group show ever, the Fab Four, performed at the the Godless Americans March on the Reason Rally, and I asked them if they would perform John Lennon's God. So yeah,
my dad also hated it, which is what made me like it, because his problem was being a Mormon and the song having "Imagine no religion," when in his mind it should be "Imagine one religion," and it's Mormonism. So I liked that song as a pianist. That would happen to be the song I was practicing when my dad would get home, for example. I was not above that type of antagonization. 50. Oh no, this one's yours, Reed.
$50 from Blitzkrieg, proposing this super chat as a kickstart for a Festivus bonus fund for the mods. Festivus for the rest of us. Man, if we were all in the same place, oh my God, I'd love to have a Festivus party for all the mods, but everybody's spread out. We should have, Jimmy, let's do a, like, maybe even as part of testing, like a phone system thing. We should, well, not this weekend for the phone thing. We should get like all the mods together and do a live game stream hangout thing with
I'm positive half of them are terrified you just suggested that. but the ones that do want to come on for sure. I think I know about half of them would rather die than be on air live.
Yeah, I'm not trying to force anybody to do it. But.
You must. It's now otherwise you're fired. Okay.
Is that
forgetting? I'm forgetting I just keep forgetting that I'm the one to send the next one through. Claire says, Carl and Matt are both right about a lot. There are many bad things about social media, but if there were benefits too, no one would use it. Each person decides if it's a net positive for them. I don't see anything there contradictory to anything you said.
That's all right. Hey, Winston's mom, I'm well aware who Tim Minchin is. Granted, we don't know each other personally, but we have mutual friends, and I've listened to pretty much everything Tim's done. Tim's brilliant.
He is as funny as everyone thinks he is. I almost think it's sad how lost it is that he's very funny. He's an incredible musician as far as he is technically literate on the piano in a way most people aren't ever.
Tim Minchin is a genius at music, at writing, at comedy, at life.
In that order, to me. I think he is writing on Broadway now, which makes sense to me.
He was doing last I heard he was doing Jesus Christ Superstar and playing Judas.
That's incredible. I'd have made him
$10 from Mr. Monster. Have you seen the new Chucky show? No, I haven't. Chucky's children are trans, and I think it's an interesting incorporation to the show, consisting Don Mancini and his sexuality. It works perfect for the show. No offense, Mr. Monster. Thank you. Apart from knowing roughly who Chucky is, because I saw the first Child's Play, nothing else in your post makes any sense to me. I don't know Don Mancini and sexuality, nothing.
And I'm immediately put on guard that a popular horror type of series has made trans people the antagonists, or so it seems. But what do I know? Super Dan says, I'm going to get a blue check mark and call my account The Sometimes Show in memory of a topical show I once loved. Listen, the Sometimes Show didn't go away. It just became way more sometimes.
Yes.
There will be, I think you will see at least one episode before the year is over. And I think that's going to happen. Right now, it's just a lot of work to do mostly by myself. So, we'll see.
Technically, this is a sometimes show as well. Like I sent Jimmy a message at like 5 o'clock this morning or something saying to cancel the show today because I had a bout of insomnia last night, was up all night. And I don't know if you guys can see it or not, probably because my glasses. I think I got either bitten on the eyelid or something abraded it, or there's like,
oof.
Is it possible to get a zit right at the very tip of your eyelid? Whatever. It hurts like hell right now. And I was sick and it was a mess last night. And I was like, just cancel the show. And then luckily I woke up before Jimmy woke up and I was like, don't cancel it. I want to do it. I'll be fine.
So the side of the story you don't actually know about that is that was the last thing I saw before I fell asleep, having also had a bout of insomnia also. And I thought to myself, all right, I could get up and go delete it now, or I could go to sleep and see if he's changed his mind by the time I wake up. And that's what worked out. It's a sty.
Yeah, if it sticks around, I'll go see a doctor and see if it's a sty or whatever. But man, yes, it's really annoying, and I'll get it looked at if it doesn't, go on its own. By the way, that's why Jimmy and I could never sleep together. We wouldn't get any sleep.
Ever, yeah. I sleep poorly.
Between the insomnia and us just being too sexy.
Yeah, that'd be it. That's at least half of the issue.
That's exactly why. Rawr. $20 from Alex Williams. You've spent much of the last 17 plus years talking with people who've been convinced of things without evidence. What do you think can be done to address the issue that so many people are now voting on the same basis? The same thing I've been doing for 17 years.
Yeah.
Attempting to educate them, calling them out. And when it gets bad enough, just being blunt. The fact is, when Hillary referred to the Trump supporters as a basket of deplorables, she was right.
Yeah.
She was correct.
Yeah.
These maggots don't care about either the rule of law or diplomacy. They are a cult of shitlords who want things their way at any cost, which is how you end up with an insurrection.
It's hard how they expect us to not notice things like Marjorie Taylor Greene on the one hand saying, you know, our prayers to the Pelosi family, it should never come to violence. And then the video that we have of her saying treason is punishable by death and Nancy Pelosi has committed treason. You know, I don't know how we're supposed to put these two things together and just pretend they're not both true and act like we think that anybody on that side actually cares that the Pelosi's were targeted. If anything, I think they might lament that Nancy wasn't home, that it was only Paul. And that's about it.
Yeah. So the person who said, I'm in a cult, what cult am I in?
Yeah, which one?
$10 in the logical larynx. Did God die before or after disco? Well, you can't die if you never lived. And the concept, I think, should have died long before disco, but it's going to last a long time after disco. The cult of personality, that's not a cult, and that's not an answer to my question there, God's dominatrix.
But since you said it, which personality are you ascribing him to being a member of a cult of personality?
Although we're giving way too much attention to a random troll who didn't bother to call in. So
yeah, coward.
If you want to talk shit and chat, you know, call in next week and make your case for it. Because I kid you not, if I see you in chat next week saying the same stupid shit, but you didn't call in, I'm just going to ban you.
And hopefully this time next week that the lines were closed won't be an excuse anybody can use anymore. That I tried, but there was no open lines. That may be going away as a problem completely. I hope it is. We're still testing it. All right. From Claire and Carl, if you are watching, the fact that you are using social media right now proves that you see some value in it. There is a good point there. Fair. YouTube is a social media website.
Cookies, you and I are in the same boat, except that I don't secretly love disco. I love all kinds of music, and a good chunk of disco is music that I actually love.
I'm going to find some... we have one more message left. It's a little bit of a long one, but if you would like to extend this show, I literally have all night because I know I won't be sleeping. Yeah. So if you'd like to extend the show, send a super chat of $10 or more and get that in there. I'll go and see if I can find some disco while Matt reads this one. That one's
$20 from Amarjan. Hey, Matt and Jimmy. Matt, I was going to call the AXP, but I missed the opportunity before you left. Was going to share a personal experience. I suppose it's just as well since it wasn't the flagship show. Yeah, the flagship show, though, over there is one you can't call into. I mean, Nonprofits is supposedly the flagship show, according to Johnny, and it's not a call-in show. It's not even a live show. I mean, maybe you could call into it, even though it's not live.
Damn, I thought Epidemic would for sure have a disco playlist. This is the best I've got for y'all. Oh, this is terrible. Something a little more.
Yeah.
This is not disco at all. All right, I've given up.
That's loud and obnoxious, and I give up.
I was ready to dance.
The end. Have we reached the end of the super chats?
Yes, this is the end.
Okay. In that case, first of all, I'll thank everybody again for both the chats and everything else, including the person who thinks I'm in a cult. Call in next time and explain to me how I'm in a cult. I promise you, people are like, oh, you just hang up with people doing great, right? You know, you do something like this, I'll give you as much time as you deserve. There you go. In the meantime, and you probably just are joking. I mean, with a thing like God's Dominatrix, I can't take anything you say seriously if that's your name. Thanks to Jimmy for jumping in. Thanks to everybody who sent in super chats today. Please make sure you remember to tune in tomorrow for a Transatlantic Call-In show starting at 2 p.m. Central, I believe, with the Ardent Heart, who has my heart, and student Dr. Ben, who I also greatly care for and admire. Ben's great. And you can get your calls in there, learn some stuff, get some new information. But no matter what you do, if you are in the United States of America and you are legally allowed to vote and you are not registered to vote, please go register to vote. And please, next Tuesday, vote and vote for a better world. If you have to hold your nose and vote for the lesser of two evils, just remember that the lesser of two evils is by definition the better choice. It's the one we should be engaging with. It's like, I don't understand people who are like, I don't want to vote because then I just have to vote for the lesser evil. Yes, the lesser of two evils is the better world. How can it be so fucking hard? It's like, hey, we're either going to get cancer or athlete's foot, but I don't want to vote for the lesser evil. Vote for athlete's foot. It's the way to a better world if the only options are cancer and athlete's foot. This is straight up the way it goes. I look forward to voting. I look forward to seeing you all next week with Jim Barrows on here, but tune in on Sunday as well for me and Jimmy with the Sunday show. And there'll be a special live thing probably Friday right here on the line to test out a new phone system. Please take care of yourself. Please register to vote. Please, please, please help everybody else work towards a better world. And sometimes that's going to mean arguing. Sometimes it's going to mean calling out bullshit. Sometimes it's going to mean tweeting into the frustration void. And sometimes it's going to mean hearing what you did isn't productive, because some people can't see how certain things are productive if they appear to be in conflict at the beginning. But conflict may be unavoidable in some situations. And if without us working together for a better world, I think we might be a little doomed. And we don't need to be doomed. I'll see you Sunday. Bye-bye.